Forget rankings, forget ADP, throw that all out the window because these 6 guys in this video could break all the rules and lead you to a fantasy football title. One of these guys is being drafted outside the first 90 picks, despite finishing last year with the 6th most points at his position. And another guy is going to be a workhorse back on a run-heavy offense that you can draft in round 7, starting with my guy, Drake London, who I don't think is getting talked enough about for what he did last year, posting career highs across the board, wide receiver 5 in total fantasy points, and that was with a limited Kirk Cousins. Clearly was not the same quarterback coming off that torn Achilles. An entirely new coaching staff came in, new offensive coordinator really helped elevate Drake last year. Finally, Arthur Smith was gone after he really dragged down Drake the past 2 years. And London's slot usage increased from 18.6% in 2023 to 39.6% last year. That was huge, and it was brilliant. Moving a big body like Drake into the slot, he's a better route runner than you think, and he had a lot of success. Second highest average depth of target from the slot, 2.57 yards per route run, which was first in the NFL. And when Michael Penix Jr. took over the final 3 games of last season, Drake balled out, averaging 23 fantasy points a game compared to 15 fantasy points per game with Kirk Cousins. 34% target share along with a 40 burger, threw up 40 fantasy points in week 18. Too bad that wasn't week 17 because most fantasy players have their championship in week 17. But hey, 40 fantasy points in any game is really impressive, especially with the new quarterback that you don't have a ton of timing and chemistry with yet. I'm really optimistic about London. I think a lot of people are fading him for whatever reason. He's got the talent. He's going to see the volume. He's in a good offense. I believe in Michael Penix Jr. He will be in year 2 of Zach Robinson's system. I think he's going to hit another stratosphere this year. London could very well be the wide receiver 1 overall. He's my dark horse to finish as the wide receiver 1 overall in fantasy this year. Don't be sleeping on Drake. Before we go any farther, if you're enjoying this video, if you could please like the video so more people like us who love fantasy football can see the video. I'm trying to grow this community. I'm trying to grow this channel. Leaving a like, subscribing, and watching as much of the video as humanly possible really helps me out. Like I said in my last video, I don't like to beg for likes, but I truly want to grow this community and this channel. And if you want to be a part of it and help me out, that would be awesome. On to our next guy. Bo Nix. A lot of people laughed at Denver for drafting Nix 12th overall. And who's laughing now? Because they have found themselves an absolute stud. Bo is that dude. Yeah, the beginning of the season was rocky, right? He was a rookie quarterback, but he figured it out pretty quick from week 5 on. He was the quarterback 6 in fantasy, averaging 21.4 fantasy points per game, only behind guys like Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, and Jalen Hurts. Pretty good company, along with averaging 2.2 touchdowns per game, along with 300-plus yard performances on the year. And what makes him even more valuable in fantasy, what makes any quarterback more valuable in fantasy, it's a cheat code, is when they run. And he's also very good at that as well. 92 rush attempts last year for 430 yards, 4 touchdowns. He was 8th in rushing yards among quarterbacks. And this was all on a roster that had literally no one outside of Courtland Sutton. We know Marvin Mims Jr. started to emerge towards the end of the year. And the Broncos realized that because they added a ton of weapons for Nix. RJ Harvey, really good running back. J.K. Dobbins, probably more of a backup, but still a quality player. And then wide receiver Pat Bryant and Evan Ingram, tight end, comes over from Jacksonville. Bo has plenty of weapons on offense now, and that's going to lead to more fantasy points. This is a guy who had 33 total touchdowns last year with very little weapons, and he was a rookie. So what do I think he can do this year? I think he has 45-plus touchdown upside. Top 5 finish at the position is very realistic. He's going to have full command of the Sean Payton offense heading into year 2. This reminds me of Jaden Daniels last year, a guy that's being drafted too late. You can get Bo Nix in round 9. He is absolutely going to pay off at that ADP. He's the guy that there's just no way he fails in this system with his ability, with the weapons around him, with his rushing upside. All right, moving on to our next guy, Ashton Jeanty, rookie running back for the Las Vegas Raiders. This man is going to be a problem, ladies and gentlemen. He is so dang talented. He's one of the few backs in the NFL this year that is going to see a true workhorse role. And yes, rookie running backs do produce in year one. I don't understand the narrative. People have been so burned by rookies early in drafts. I get it. Marvin Harrison Jr., receiver last year, you took him early, you didn't pay off. Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, when they both entered the league a couple years ago, they didn't have good rookie years either. But that doesn't mean that you just stop drafting generational blue chip type players like Jeanty. And here's 8 running backs drafted in the NFL draft inside the top 10. And here's how they finished their rookie years. We got 8 of them, right? So it's not like I'm giving you 1 or 2, 8. Saquon Barkley, RB1. Adrian Peterson, RB1 finishes rookie year. Ezekiel Elliott, RB2. Trent Richardson, RB5. Reggie Bush, RB9. Todd Gurley, RB9. Leonard Fournette, RB7 in fantasy points per game. And Christian McCaffrey, RB10 in 10 starts. These are all guys who excelled in year one. And like I said, Ashton is a blue chip player who ran for 2,600 yards and 30 total touchdowns in his final collegiate year, nearly 400 touches, while averaging over 200 yards per game, averaging 200 yards per game. He's going to be the engine of this Las Vegas Raiders offense, led by new head coach Pete Carroll, offensive coordinator Chip Kelly, who both have experience supporting top 5 fantasy running backs, Marshawn Lynch, LaShawn McCoy in Philadelphia. And during Kelly's time with the Eagles, the team ranked top 5 in running back targets. And oh yeah, Ashton Jeanty is a very good receiving back as well. He actually holds the highest receiving grade among the top rookie backs. And in 2023, he had 43 receptions for 569 yards and 5 touchdowns. He's going to be a threat on the ground and through the air, which we love for PPR leagues, which we love for his overall ceiling. And oh yeah, his running back competition is 33-year-old Raheem Mostert is the running back 2 on the depth chart right now. Are you kidding me? He is not going to know what to do with all the carries, with all the touches that he's going to get, talking about Jeanty. It's not going to even be fair. The only slight concern that I have with Ashton is this offensive line. It's a younger unit that should take the next step this year. They were not great last year. The offense, the running backs weren't great either. I think if this line can take the next step, Ashton Jeanty could easily be the RB1 overall this year. He's got elite talent. He's going to see the volume, touchdown upside, receiving upside. It's the perfect recipe to break fantasy football. I don't care if he's a rookie. People just need to get that out of their head. Don't overcomplicate this one. I have no problem if you want to use a top 6 pick on Jeanty in your upcoming drafts. All right, moving on to our next guy, George Kittle. He is an alien at the tight end position. Even at age 31, he just continues to get better and better and dominate like he always does. He was 5th in receptions among tight ends last year, 3rd in receiving yards, 2nd in yards after the catch, and 2nd in touchdowns. And you might think, why are we talking about someone who finished as the tight end 1 in fantasy points per game last year? Because he's not being drafted like it. Brock Bowers is going 20 picks ahead of Kittle. Trey McBride, 13 picks ahead of Kittle. I love Bowers. I love McBride. I'm not saying they're going to have bad years. Bowers is a stud and should have a strong year too. Don't get me wrong. But when Devontae Adams got traded away in week 6, he was their entire offense. They had no one else on offense. Jacoby Myers, fine player, but nothing special. And I just don't think that that's going to be the case this year because of the guy we just talked about. Ashton Jeanty is going to be heavily involved on the ground, through the air. Marvin Harrison Jr. for the Cardinals, I think, is going to take a huge leap in year 2, which could eat away at some of McBride's overall usage, overall targets. You can make an argument that McBride and Bowers' situations got slightly worse, and Kittle's got even better this year. We know Deebo Samuel gone, Brandon Ayuk coming off that torn ACL. Doesn't even seem like he wants to be on the team. Doesn't seem like the 49ers want him to be on the team. Who knows what's going to happen there? Juwan Jennings, another wide receiver who wants a deal, who's upset. Ricky Pearsall is there, but he still has a lot to prove. Second year guy, has been kind of injury prone since entering the league. Not talking about the gunshot, but just his hamstring injuries. He's had several hamstring injuries already. So we'll see what happens there. We hope Christian McCaffrey can play a full season, but that's to be determined. So Kittle could easily finish as the guy in fantasy at the tight end position this year. And among tight ends last year, he ranked first in yards per route run among tight ends and was third among receivers behind only Puka Nacua and Nico Collins, second in red zone targets, third in yards after the catch per reception, sixth in target share. He crushed all the metrics that we really care about. And this is a guy you can draft in round 4 instead of paying the premium price for Brock Bowers and Trey McBride. It just seems like a no-brainer. Kittle is a must target at the position because of his costs and because of the upside that he has with Brock Purdy in this 49ers offense, where he's probably going to be the number 1 target in the passing game. Moving on to Caleb Johnson, who is one of my favorite picks in fantasy drafts this year. Another running back that landed in the perfect situation, who should see a massive workload right away. And he exploded in his final season at Iowa. Let's talk about his college numbers really briefly. Over 1,700 total yards, 23 touchdowns, a crazy 6.4 yards per carry. And oh yeah, he didn't fumble once on 262 touches. And he did all of that in just 12 games. This is a really big, powerful back sitting at 6'1", 225. He's got breakaway ability. He's got deceptive speed, elusiveness, 99th percentile dominator rating last year, second in breakaway runs, fourth in yards after contact on a Steelers offense led by Arthur Smith, who we know they just want to run the football. They were top 4 in rush attempts last year, and they drafted Johnson to fill that Najee role, which is actually a very valuable role. Najee had 250 plus touches in all 4 years as a Steeler every single year. That is a lot of touches for a very inefficient Najee Harris, and he racked up over 1,600 total yards and 10 touchdowns as a rookie. Najee Harris did that, ladies and gentlemen, as a rookie who, like I said, has never been a very efficient or explosive player, the complete opposite of what they now have with Caleb. Yes, Jaylen Warren's going to be involved in the passing game. He's proven that he can't handle a big workload, tends to get injured often. They like him on third downs because of his blocking ability, but Johnson is going to get the goal line touches, the high value touches in fantasy. He's going to score a lot of touchdowns. It would not shock me if he eats into Jaylen Warren's role in pass down situations. You can get this man in round 7. That is insane value, especially because he brings top 12 upside at the position. And on to our last guy, maybe a guy that some people love, some people hate, Tyreek Hill, who is coming off one of the worst seasons of his career, but there's no reason to panic. I think a lot of people are saying he's cooked, his career's over, he should just be done playing football. I completely disagree. We know he had that wrist injury he suffered in August. Doctors recommended that he needs to have season-ending surgery, but Tyreek Hill said, no, I want to play through it. The next injury, a lot of people aren't talking about this. We haven't seen a ton of reports on it, but wide receiver coach Wes Welker at the time, towards the end of the year, said that Hill was also playing through an ankle injury. We don't know at what point he got the ankle injury, but that might be part of the reason for his horrible 1.7 yards per route run last year, which was the lowest mark of his career. For reference, Hill's yards per route run in 2023 was 3.82 yards. Tyreek didn't all of a sudden just decline as a player that quickly. He's not even close to dust. He still has plenty left in the tank, as he ranked 8th among receivers in ESPN Open Score last year. That score did trail his 2022 and 23 marks, but was better than any of his scores over his previous 5 seasons as a Kansas City Chief. If I'm being honest, here's what the major issues were. The scheme was a huge issue. We know Tua missed those 4 games with a concussion, and then Miami turned to a run-heavy offense, a dink-and-dunk offense. Get it to Devon Achane or Jonnu Smith as quickly as possible. We know Jonnu not on the roster anymore, Pittsburgh Steeler. It's just hard to believe that Mike McDaniel, who is probably on one of the hottest coaching seats in the NFL, like he could lose his job literally at any moment. It's hard to believe they're going to continue this dink-and-dunk, little boring check-down offense, especially because they were not that good of a football team last year. We know they're around 500, but I think they have bigger aspirations. than just being average. And Tua also ranked last in average depth of target among quarterbacks and averaged a career low 5.7 intended air yards per attempt last season. In 2023, that number was at 7.7 air yards. In 2022, 9.5. And the last major issue, probably the biggest one if I'm being honest, is this offensive line was horrendous. They couldn't block anyone. And so Tua had to get the ball out as quickly as possible, which meant Tyreek Hill, his yards per route run were very low because he didn't have time to run deep, right? He didn't have time to get downfield before Tua got sacked. I think this offensive line will be better this year. They've definitely upgraded several positions on that unit, as Tua had the second lowest time to throw behind only Cooper Rush last year, and Miami ranked last in block win rate. So terrible unit, like I said, should be better, which means they're hopefully going to throw the ball downfield, which is what Tyreek Hill does. He still has that speed. He's still Tyreek Hill, and you can draft him in round 3. He is a league winner in round 3. When is the last time you could ever draft Tyreek Hill outside of the first 8 picks in fantasy? Maybe his rookie year, maybe his second year. You can get him in round 3. He could easily finish as the wide receiver 1 overall because he's still Tyreek Hill. The system, the offensive line will be better. I promise you that. That's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate each and every one of you who made it to this point, and I'll see you in the next one.